Well, hello. Good morning. How are you, my little lovelies? I have a lesson for you today. Morning, ma'am. She thought I was talking to her. Well, the lesson. First of all, whoever made a comment on my comment channel regarding Slow Observer, saying that he doesn't like me and thinks I'm a weirdo, whatever. Until he tells me that to my face himself, I don't believe you are a liar. Anyways, today's lesson is for you. It's for you, actually. Yes. It's about freedom of speech, okay? And freedom of press, all right? And maybe, what do you think about it? What do you think about freedom of speech and freedom of press, I ask you? Well, you're telling me by locking up Slow Observer and killing a bunch of the auditors, well, and putting them in jail and prison. I mean, you've had Carolina in jail, you've had Harvey Freebird in jail, me, Betty Buttcrack, Nasty Nathaniel in jail. All of these auditors think I'm a weirdo, really. Well, you know what? I don't believe you. I think your noses are growing very quickly about everything you think. But you have freedom of speech on my channel. What is freedom of speech? It's the freedom to speak. So, I agree with freedom of speech, but there are limits. Is that what you say? Well, then there is no freedom of speech if there's limits. What is freedom of speech? Well, I'd like to answer, says David Icke. Politicians agree with freedom of speech, but there's a limit. Well, freedom of speech is the freedom to speak. If anyone's not allowed to speak their own truth, then it's not freedom of speech. It's freedom to conform around certain parameters that they think are acceptable, right? Not about what the way our opinions are free to express themselves, freedom of expression. I mean, where do you think an artist comes from? From his heart, from his soul, from everything that's beautiful inside. It comes out, and people love it. So that's why we have freedom, okay? Now let me tell you the rest about this. Freedom of speech is the freedom to speak. If anyone's not allowed to speak, then it's not freedom of speech. It's freedom to conform around certain perimeters that they think are acceptable. And that gives power to some authority to decide what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Once you give that kind of authority and power to someone, anyone, to interpret what can and can't be said, it starts to grow, which is what we're seeing now. Everyone wants to jump on the bandwagon, putting restrictions on what can and cannot be said and or reported by the press. This is what political correctness is all about. Political correctness, manipulating the target population to silence itself. So those in authority don't have to just lock them in a rat cage. That'll shut them up. Put them in a rat cage. That'll shut them up. All right? There are laws against incitement to violence, hatred, racism, etc. There are laws to deal with incitement, but once you start censoring freedom of speech at the point of delivery, or even more sinister, before the point of delivery, by banning people from the right to have access to the communication networks, i.e. YouTube, to speak in public, that is what the fascists do in Nazi Germany. That's what they did. What does any tyranny do? It wants to silence those that are exposing the tyranny and have a different version of events to the tyranny. So, what did the Nazis do? They burnt the books. They banned the meetings of the people that were exposing the Nazis. And now, in this strange new world we have, people that call themselves progressives are actually the opposite of liberal. So they're destroying diversity, and they have become the new tyranny, the new Nazis. If you look at what this progressive mentality is doing in silencing people and in their arrogance deciding what people can and cannot say, or an opinion they can or cannot have, there's no difference between the Nazis and what is happening here today. It goes like this. I am right, and therefore anyone that says anything different must therefore be wrong. And by definition, because they are wrong and I am right, their freedom of speech to be wrong doesn't need to be taken into account. That's how their mentality goes. What I say is, I don't agree with them. I don't agree with them. And I don't agree with them. But I do agree with them. But I don't want to silence any of them. Because are we so immature that we can't hear different opinions, even those we don't like? That we sit back in amazement, horrified? Call the police and make our own judgments on what's being said and the validating of it? Or do we have the maturity to put forth a counter argument, which, if we are all confident in what we're saying, will demolish that which we don't agree with? Anyone who wants to silence people rather than argue their case can't have much confidence in their own case, surely. And once you go down this road of giving authority the right to decide what can and cannot be said, and what opinions can and cannot be had, you are in a tyranny, and that's where we're going now. We're in a tyranny. But it's bigger than that, because it's not just political correctness. You can't say this, you can't say that, you must say that. It's like the devil's playground in Silicon Valley, DARPA, seed funding, social media, the internet, Facebook, Twitter, ghost banning. I mean, all of this stuff. YouTube deleting large numbers of channels that are presently have a different narrative than they have. It's called ghost banning, or just deleting the channel completely, like they did to Carolina, CFW Carolina in Fort Worth. And so her things would be, her channel would be uncirculated and demonetized, okay? I mean, a handful of people are controlling this stuff, believe me. A concentration of power, surveillance, censorship. They control your data, the military complex, law enforcement. I thought the police were there to defend the freedom of speech. Have you seen Sheep Show? You should watch it. They're silencing any dissent. I don't give a damn what people think of me, but I do care that they have a place to speak their opinion, even if they don't like me, even if they're trolls, and they have a place here on the comments where I feel like they can speak their mind, speak your truth. Put me down if you want to, but put down the fault lines that divide us, and love one another, because the culture that tries to divide us is built on hate, and that we cannot tolerate. We need to find love and kind love between all of our human being family members. The hate is how we got into this mess. The dynamic is different when they fight with love. When you fight love, when you fight hate with love, the dynamic is different. They don't know how to handle it. They just don't know how to handle it, folks. So fight hate with love, speak your mind, fight all censorship, all kinds of censorship, unless it has to do with racism, hate speech, or anything like that. You need to use the system to expose the system. The necessity is the mother, or what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. And we need these communication platforms on YouTube to make the people informed and aware of their rights, that they even have the right to record police. People will be gravitating towards channels that are non-censored, that are censor-free. The people have the power. Depression is from oppression. The school board using psychological warfare on the young, postage stamping all of our people like they're all supposed to act a certain way. I mean, come on, man. Censorship, that's what that is. I mean, don't go for that postage stamp reality. Institutions are controlled by these perceptions, and journalists won't last long if they go against the orthodoxy. Oh, that's what I wrote. Can't even read my own notes, I'm sorry. But if you go against the orthodoxy as a journalist on YouTube or on any platform, you know, you're going to get targeted, you're going to get picked on, you're going to get ghosted, you're going to get ridiculed, condemned by your peers. If you don't conform to the general postcard consensus, the crime of being different or separating yourself from the norms could be deadly. But you need to question the norm, or nothing moves and nothing expands, nothing changes. This is my truth, and your reaction is not going to affect my truth, and I have a right to speak it. And you have a right to speak your truth on my channel. Go ahead. The alternative narratives, I mean, is to silence people. Alternative people are demonetized on YouTube, and I have a right not to be affected by you or what you think. So I think they need to stop deleting people's channels, and ghosting people. So it's already a police state, a military state. It's going to end up affecting your family. There's only 1% that's benefiting from this whole situation that they have on this little treadmill they have us going on, like a little 1% up here. The rest of us are down here. And as soon as you realize that it's affecting you, your family, your children, your dog, your cat, your whole environment, your whole community, then you might maybe, get on a different level of ridiculous. I mean, if you have to endure the walls that oppress you, I hope to God you have the courage to break them down and to free yourself from those people. Let go of the fear of what other people think, and you'll have no more mental gymnastics to deal with. Freedom lies within this realm, where other people's thoughts and beliefs don't matter, because the power dynamic is in the audience. The audience will follow you uncensored. You will have a platform. Don't ever give up. The best advice I ever heard from Anthony Hopkins on an interview, like I don't know how many years ago, when they asked him, "What's your best advice?" thought about it for a few seconds and said, don't ever give up. Don't ever give up, peeps. I love you. Always believe something wonderful is about to happen. And be yourself.